that the next 12 months of your life could be the 12 months that you accomplish more in less time than you've ever done before in your entire life. And have you ever wondered why some people seem to not only grow their businesses faster, they seem to accomplish more faster, and they seem to get the best clients, they get the best patients, they make the most amount of money. The last question I want to ask is, have you ever met someone who is able to make more money in a month than you in the same industry and the same profession possibly make in an entire year? And if you look at, you have the same amount of talent, same amount of background, same amount of skills, yet they seemingly are able to attract more into their life than you do. Well, what if I told you that there's actually, they might be living by a total different set of rules? And when I started out into my entrepreneurial career, which really meant I was going to be broke for many years trying to figure it out, it wasn't until I learned that successful people live by a completely different set of rules than unsuccessful people. And I'd actually go a step further and say that none of the rules that will allow you to succeed in business, in your career, especially on the financial side, is anything that they teach in college or traditional education. In fact, linear educational teaching is actually one of the reasons why most people stay stuck when they venture out into growing their business or trying to advance their financial life. Now, I'll tell you a quick little story. So years ago, when I came home from college, I had my nursing degree, and I told my parents I was not going to go into nursing. In fact, I was going to go out and be an entrepreneur. And at that time, I thought I was going to be the next Tony Robbins. And as many of you know, when you start a business and you have no model, no mentor, or no pathway forward that's clean and clear, you find out really quickly, at least I did, that the zigzag approach means you're going to stay broke for a really, really long time. Now, in my book, Time Collapsing, the new art of speed, money, power, and meaning, the most popular chapter, this is the chapter I always direct people to, is chapter number 8. It's called The Power of the Leapfrog Theory of Success. Now, I did not invent that. In fact, it wasn't until I discovered it that it absolutely freed me from so many blockages that were holding me back. And I discovered it in a book called Winning Through Intimidation by Robert Ringer. Now, it's not about intimidating people, by the way. It was a book that was recommended to me by Dan Kennedy. And inside the book, it says, with the leapfrog theory, he said that at any given moment, at any given time, you can self-proclaim yourself to the top of any industry in order to be amongst the best without anyone's permission. You have no obligation to seek their permission, and that you could simply claim yourself to be at the top of any industry and then go grab it. Now, he does say that you have to be able to back it up and you have to be able to fulfill it, but that there's no moral obligation to get the approval of the others in your industry in order to go do that. Now, that blew me away because at the time I was in an industry where I was in the speaking industry. And the speaking industry at the time was just full of people that they would tell you to get involved with the associations, to give free speeches away, and to do all this kind of like hustle and grind stuff, which I'm not opposed to it, but there's a better way. And I'll get to that in a second. But it was like the blind leading the blind. And as my friend Dan Kennedy would say, it's like marketing incest. Everybody was doing the same exact thing, but expecting different results. And others would call that insanity, right? So the leapfrog theory and how it relates to money and marketing and growing your business this year, and how to make more in 1 month than you currently do in 12 months is kind of the purpose of this video. But I want to walk through what the leapfrog theory looks like and why it's like kind of the foundation of everything else that I'm going to teach today. And hopefully for you, it is the beginning of something that you can apply right away. So what's the ladders of success? We've already always taught it, like you climb the ladder of success. And so this is a really common taught principle that we learn. Like, so here's the person at the top. Hey, look at me, and I'm amazing. And if you follow these steps, you're going to be amazing too. But what happens is it puts us into two problems right out of the gate. Number one is called the sequential trap. Okay. Now, the sequential trap is something that I teach in the book that says, we're programmed to think sequentially. So we go to preschool, then we go to kindergarten, then we go to first grade, then we go to second grade, and you work all the way up into this point where like you're doing good if you follow the sequences and everyone's proud of you, right? Well, that works in school, and that might work in corporate America. I wouldn't know because I never been in corporate America, right? But what I can tell you that is if you're trying to start a business, you're trying to grow your business locally. Like I work with dentists, I work with an amazing bank. If we're trying to grow rapidly, the last thing on earth we want to do is think sequentially. And here's why, okay? Well, let me back up. I'm kind of jumping around. The leapfrog theory of success is you don't have obligation to do this, that you could at any given time just jump and leapfrog. That's why we call it the leapfrog theory of success. Now, here's why it's such a powerful way to think about everything you do. Like, so I coach high-level athletes. We're never looking at what this person is doing. We're always looking at what are they doing, and we reverse engineer that pathway. We're going straight to the top. We're going straight to the end. Where do we want to be, and how do we get there in as least amount of steps as possible? That's number one. Number two is that when we look at where all the competition is, where's all the competition? All the competition is on the steps to success. Why? Because they're following everyone else's advice because they think they have to work their way up the ladder of success. We don't have to do that. Why? Because it's not reality. We can make up our own rules and jump to the top. And here's what's really cool about the top. There's less people. It's less crowded. And everybody knows everybody at the top, or at least it's easy. It's a small world. In any industry, in any category, in any profession, in any occupation, the people who are the high achievers, the top 5%, completely outliers, right? And so when we look at that, the first foundational principle is we're just going to leap to the top. Now, the second foundational principle is that in any business that we're trying to grow, it always comes down to a really simple thing. It's like, well, okay, here's the formula, right? How do we get more offers to more people more often? Okay, so you got your offer, you got your audience, and then you got, well, I'll get into this. So you got your offer, so whatever you're offering to your people, right? And so in today's day and age, there's never been a better time for you to be able to time collapse, as I say in our book, your ability to get your offer, whatever it is you're selling or whatever solution you're solving, in front of more people more often and quicker and more easily. Now, where your work has to come into play is like, well, okay, do I just get it out to everybody? And the answer to that is no. So one of the first steps that we're going to look at is what problem or pain are you solving that your service is uniquely solving, and why should they be doing business with you over everybody else? Okay. And then what is the mechanism that we're going to utilize to get out to these more people? And so let me cover this first part here, because while this might be your formula, it breaks down into a couple simple pillars. And I'll try and keep this super simple so that you can actually take action with this today, right? So what's my offer, right? So I work with dentists a lot, and it's one of my main businesses. We help them reach more people through our social media syndication system to make them locally famous, make them a local celebrity. And one of the big questions that you'd imagine is that, well, how do you help people like choose a dentist, or why are dentists unique? Because they're I got a dentist, there's a dentist there, there's a dentist there. If I was going to talk to real estate agents, like, well, why should somebody go list their house with you versus someone else? Well, I have a great example of a friend of mine who absolutely differentiates himself, and I'll explain it to him about him in a minute. But these unique offerings is one of the things that we just look at as like, so if they have a problem, they have someone who is wearing dentures and they're frustrated, right? In our bank at Oakleaf Community Mortgage, powered by North Shore Trust and Savings, we have a really unique product called Buy Now, Sell Later. Okay, and what does that do? That helps people who are currently contingent become non-contingent. And in my description, I'll put a link to find out more information about that. But what that does is that helps people that are currently looking to buy a home, who are currently want to make an offer on a home, but they currently are living in their house. Our bank has the ability of helping them become non-contingent with a unique product that they created. It's not a bridge loan. And then let's pick another category so you guys can see how this operates in many, many different things. So like I got my buddy, Mike LaFido, who's a luxury agent, right? Well, he creates a book, right? He creates a book that he interviewed a handful of different other luxury agents, and they teach all their secrets on how they position homes and how to sell your home for top dollar. And these are different ways that they can position themselves. Okay, so that's how they're positioning themselves, right? And so that's how they're being unique. Now, in dentistry, we do $1 million interview method where I interview the dentist and then we syndicate that content. It immediately positions them as an authority. But the question you got to ask yourself is like, well, Ed, how do we get more audience? Okay, so I'm going to move this up a little bit so I have more space. So the audience is a big deal because there's multiple ways you can grow your audience. Now, you have paid ways, right? Which is what a lot of people know about. They have content syndication, which is, every single social channel that's available to you. And then you have what I would consider two different ways of getting in front of people. Is how do you get in front of people through lunch and learns or local workshops or local seminars? But one of the best ways to test out your message, your offer, and your confidence, and just getting kind of doing that is how do you do like one-to-many presentations like the one I'm doing right now. Okay. And so what's cool about what I'm doing right now is I just use a simple little software called StreamYard, and allows us to syndicate on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on TikTok. What else am I on right now? We're not on X. I think they kicked us off. There was a new update on X that kicked you off on it. But what's super important for you to understand is that if you want to accomplish more in 1 month than you currently are doing in 3 months or 6 months or even an entire year, your ability to syndicate your unique value proposition is really where all the math is done. Okay. And so when we break down these like few different categories, we got paid syndication, content syndication, and then we want to, I could break that down more if you guys would like me to, but then we need to be constantly thinking, how do we drive them to a one-to-many platform? Okay. Now, what's a one-to-many kind of scenario? Okay. So I'll go deeper on this because you have things that are virtual workshops. So these are virtual. That's what we're doing right now. And you can automate this entire process, right? You have live in-person workshops. Okay. These are all really, really, really powerful mechanisms of doing it. And then you take recordings of this. So let's say you do the $1 million interview. Okay. I'll just put $1 million interview. And if you want to see samples of it, you can actually go to my Ed O'Keefe show and you'll see past interviews where I interviewed people in different categories. That's usually where we do it. But here's the deal on these things. Okay. Super, super important. the main reason why these models work to allow you to compress an entire buying cycle in 30 minutes, 60 minutes, 90 minutes, 3 hours is that when people are in need for a solution, we want to be in front of them. And we can't predict when that time is. Does that make sense? And so if we can't predict when that time is, what do we need to be able to do? Well, we got to do it more often. We have to have automations in place. We got to use social media. We got to be on all the different platforms because we don't know where they're going to be. Does that make sense? And so we got to get our unique message out into the unique or into the ecosystem where they're going to be so that we make it available for them to consume our content. Now, here's the thing that most people don't realize. Ed, what if I only have 3 people watch my video? What if I only have 12 people watch my video? What if I only have 20 people watch? Well, hey, listen, let me ask a different question. What if you have 1,000 people watch your video in your area? It wouldn't take very, very long for you to become the most trusted, most credible authority in your industry really quickly, almost overnight. And here's what's really cool about everything I just described, especially if you're still watching this and you're like, this is grabbing you and you're thinking, this is Ed speaking to me right now. What I got to tell you is that if you had 5 people watch a video that you posted on YouTube and one of those or 2 of those people became clients of yours, would it be worth it to post the video? And the answer is absolutely, because once you do it for 5 people, it's going to be easy for you to put $25 behind that and then get 50 people watching your video. Okay. The other thing you got to realize, folks, this is super, super inspiring, is that if you're putting out content that solves problems for people, the algorithms right now, the media channels like YouTube, like LinkedIn, like Facebook, like Instagram, like X, like TikTok. I mean, think about it. I can keep going on and on and on and on. They want content that solves problems for their people. Okay. And so if you're able to do that, they will find the people who are on those platforms with those problems right now. Why? Because why do they know that? How do they know that? Because right now, their algorithms, their AI can pick up. If I click on something right now about hair loss, my kids make fun of me every day. Dad, you know that little ad that's on the thing, you need to buy that product because you're losing your hair. You know, they remind me, they're my best algorithms, I guess. But if I click on a product, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to see a video about that, about hair loss, right, hair replacement. And then I'm going to see another video. And then I'm going to see an ad. You know what I'm talking about, right? And the coolest thing now, which should be super inspiring, I just watched the video and we posted something about it with Gary Vee, is that right now, it doesn't matter if you have 10 followers or 1,000 followers or 100,000 followers. If your content speaks to solving a problem that your prospective client, patient, customer has, and you can do it in a way that they holds their attention, and you don't have to be perfect. They're going to serve your content in front of that person. Okay. Super, super important. And the other thing I like to say to you is what I tell all my clients to say, listen, this is very important for you to understand. All I want you to do is imagine you're talking to your favorite client who's got the problem you can easily solve, that is happy to pay the amount of money for you to solve it, and pretend you're sitting in your living room or in your office or in your most comfortable chairs. You have a cup of coffee or your favorite drink in your hand. They have their favorite drink in their hand, and everyone's happy and whatever. And you're just explaining your offer and how it solves their problem. It's got to go back to how it solves their problem. And it's just super, super simple stuff. So this doesn't need to be technically savvy. It doesn't need to be a production like even the one that I have right now. It doesn't need to be this clean. It could be totally like on a napkin, piece of paper. This is, very, very simple stuff. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to say is before I jumped in here, I was like, well, Ed, how does this relate to making money? Hopefully you understand where we're going here, right? Is let's just do some basic math, right? Is that if my current model is 1-to-1, that's your current model. Okay. Your current model is number one. There's only so much money you can make on a one-to-one basis, because let's say only 10%, 20% of the people that you speak to end up going with you or buying, or let's say it's 50%. There's still only so much time in the day, and there's only so much people. Now, if you take this model and you're able to make this 1 to 10 or 1 to 100, and then we just take and add some zeros, very quickly, your basic math of your ability to impact people exponentially goes up. And so you're able to add this, and you're able to add this. Now, here's what gets really cool. Now, if you know who your ideal dream clients are, not only are you able to get more people on it, but you're able to generate more income. Okay. And so that's where we go after the quality of the audience, and the quality of your ability to speak to that. So for example, if I was going to be in an industry where, let's just talk about dentistry. I'll go right through my little list of things real quick. And if you have a certain business you want me to make an example for, go ahead and click it in there. But if I was selling something to, say, the plumbing industry, say our software or our marketing services, and in the plumbing industry, while those are great businesses to acquire because they're boring businesses, every household has plumbing issues. You can, they'll be sustainable for a long time. AI is not going to come and ruin those businesses. Their average transaction size is smaller. Where if I was selling to, say, like dentists, their average transaction size is much greater. Well, who's going to spend more money? So that is going to show you which market might be a more profitable market for you. If I was a dentist looking for patients, and I could go after people that are looking for cleanings, well, that's going to only have a certain amount of dollar on the transaction size versus somebody that is frustrated with their full arch denture, because that could be a $30,000 case. And so if you're going to spend time, effort, energy, and money, you want to take in a couple factors. Is where is the most amount of profit for us? Who do we enjoy working with best? Who are we committed to solving their problems and have a unique way of solving those problems? And then one of the biggest questions you got to ask before we wrap up this video, and hopefully enjoy this. If you like this video, leave me a comment. If you have a question, please leave me a question. I'll shoot more stuff like this. I'll shoot more stuff from the book. But one of the big things that we got to ask ourselves are, what are we willing to spend in order to get this result? Okay. So if we could put 1,000 people on a platform to watch your video, you could either spend money to put low budget ads behind that, or you could spend money to get more content out faster. And you could do it down and dirty. Like you could do just simple cell phone. I mean, cell phones now have just as much quality video as like these more expensive cameras that I'm using right here, and they're easier and people like them. They like the video. Okay. But what is it worth to you to get a client, patient, or customer? And then what are you willing to spend to do that? Because once you figure out what you're willing to invest, and this could be when you have no money, guess what you have? You have time. And it could be time. And then then it's just a matter of you bringing all these pieces together and really ratcheting up this as quickly as you possibly humanly can in order to get the number of people that we need to hit our income and revenue goal. I'll tell you this, man, in any business that I've had success in, it's always come down to, how do I get more people in front of my offer as quickly as possible? And then I'd ask myself, well, who already has my clients, customers, or patients, or prospects? And if we can strike a deal with them, or get on their stage, or get on their podcast, or get endorsed by them, all of a sudden you're getting an avalanche of referrals into your business. That cash flow will then accelerate your ability to spend money for all your other things. So I'm going to leave you with a couple quick little questions, and we'll slow this whole thing down. Okay. So what is your offer that is so unique that people it solves a unique problem that people are happy to pay for. Number two is, why should they be working with you? Okay. And you might be like, Ed, I don't know. I'm kind of a loser. Well, I'd be willing to bet that if you're watching personal development videos, you're a notch ahead of where most people are, and you're in the process of really upping your game. And so, I'm a father of 7 kids, right? I grew up in a blue collar family. Those are all positive attributes. I live on the south side of Chicago, where it's a really unique environment. Now, I didn't really do any of those things, right? I guess I was there for the 7 kids, but I can't take credit for all those other things. But all those things made up who I am today and my unique perspective in the world. So even as you're trying to figure things out, possibly one of your unique edges might be you're brand new to an industry. And you could tell people like, look, I'm brand new in this industry. I have a great mentor. This mentor helps me solve all my problems. But one thing you're not going to get from other people is this fired up person who's brand new in an industry. That's a unique competitive advantage. Sometimes your naiveness, sometimes your youth, sometimes your inexperience, sometimes your failures have to be positioned, because I've had many of them, as your uniqueness. Okay. Like, I've made this mistake so many times that you're paying me because I'm going to make sure you don't make those mistakes. I blew up this business at this level because when we got to 10 million, 12 million a year, I thought the best way to do it was to scale faster doing XYZ. Well, I'm going to keep the bumpers on you to make sure that that's not going to happen for you. So a lot of times you can turn your failures and mistakes into your greatest assets when you're helping people. And most people a lot of times think their inexperience, their age, their old and young, their past failures are the exact reasons why people shouldn't work with them, when in fact, those are the actual assets you're bringing to the table, because you've already done that. You've already paid for that experience. And then the last thing is really simple is, what's the math on all this? If my number's 100, what do we got to do to get 100? And if I usually do 100 in 12 months, and obviously I'm using low numbers, what do we need to do? What would it magically look like if we did that in 1 month? And just even asking yourself, whether it's 100,000, whether it's 500,000, whether it's a million, whether it's 10 million, what do we got to do to compress that time frame down to 1 month? Even if it's not realistic, let's pretend for a moment you had a magic wand and it was. What would actually happen with your goals and with your brain? Just let your brain go through the exercise and just be a mat and just write it all out. Write down 10, 20, 30 ideas of what would need to happen for that to happen. And then, circle the top priority ones that you can start today, and just get rocking and rolling. There's usually going to be a couple skills that you need to equip yourself with. I mean, it doesn't matter your age. I mean, right now you can learn almost anything on YouTube in a matter of minutes. Okay. Again, just do it faster. Leapfrog theory of success. You do not have to work your way through the ranks, but in fact, you could jump to the top at any given time. You have no moral obligation to get other people's permission to do what you're meant to do, what's in your heart meant to do, and what you're excited to do. And once you get on that journey, you're going to have so much momentum coming up behind you that only great things are going to follow. So that's it. I'm Ed O'Keefe. Hopefully you like this video and have an amazing, amazing day. We'll see you on the other side.